So with that in mind, um, let's crack on. And I want to take you on a journey through time. Back before AI, back before LinkedIn, back before pay-per-click, back before direct mail, back before email marketing and cold calls, back even before the written word. If you were an insurance broker or a copywriter or a virtual assistant or a software developer and you wanted to spread the word about what you did, you had one thing available to you, and that was word of mouth. And I'm not sure that much has really changed these days in terms of it's still, for most people, the most successful form of business. And it's not just me saying this, it's something that we all kind of inherently kind of know, even if we don't want to admit it. Stats reveal that 84% of B2B decision makers start the buying process with a referral. And not only that, but once these people come in, typically they spend more as well. And I don't think this stat actually takes into account the fact that clients that come into you via an introduction are also way more likely to introduce you as well. So you get that kind of ripple effect. And it just shows that that age-old saying of it's not what you know, it's who you know, really does come into effect. So quick show of hands. I said there'd be some engagement, actual or virtual hands. How many of you at the moment are getting referrals into your business? Okay, just the one of you. Come on, surely more of you are getting than that. Okay, most of you. Okay, and how many of you are actively asking for referrals? Okay, a few less, a couple of dodgy ones. And how many of you had said you had a kind of a proper process behind this? Okay, Matt, I don't expect nothing less from you, and Neil. Okay, much less. You know what? And but for most of us, it's still the main source of our business, right? And so for many business owners I speak to, despite the fact they do all these other bits of marketing effort, it still comes down to largely relying on referrals, and that lack of process can make people feel a little bit anxious. And again, the stats back this up. Only 30% of people that were within this survey said they had a formalized referral program. And I just want to put one thing out there. When I say formalized, I don't mean overly salesy and pushy. It's just about being more intentional about your strategies from getting more high quality introductions into your business. And this is something worth doing because companies with formalized referral programs experience 86% more revenue growth. So the stats back up this in kind of this inherent universal truth that we know that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer people they know, like, and trust. And introductions are the best way of shortcutting that. So very quickly, on those of you that I haven't met and engaged with before, who am I and why should you be listening to me? I have never had a partnership manager role, but I have been on the other end of a whole heap of big brands partnership campaigns. So Business Team, you see in the top left over there, that's a membership organization that I ran. We grew that to almost 2,000 members entirely through referrals and strategic partners. I then was responsible for providing leads to some of the big brands you see here. I had reached about 1 million small business owners, and so I was promoting other people's products to other people's customers. So I've created hundreds of partnerships in my time. Got miserable running the business I was running, and set up Collaboration Junkie to use all the skills that I learned, the wins I'd had and the mistakes I'd either made and witnessed working in partnerships with some of these big brands, to flip it on its head and provide organizations such as yourselves with the skills, systems, structure and strategy to really make the most of this channel. Quick couple of definitions for you as well before we get into the nitty gritty. You'll hear me talking about referrals and partnerships. These aren't dictionary definitions, these are Dave definitions. When I talk about referrals, it's getting introductions from your customers, your clients, your audience, your network, anyone and everyone, really. Lovely to have, but the quality, the quantity can vary. When I talk about partnerships, these are strategic relationships with people you may not already know, and where they have a vested interest in introducing your ideal client to you at the ideal time to buy on a consistent basis. So, and that's the type of relationship that we're going to focus on for the remainder of today. So they're called strategic partnerships, and for a reason. You need to be strategic about it. And so the 5 steps that I promised you in the title of the workshop align to the 5 steps of my dance framework, which is what we're going to cover today. So first up, we have discovery. Who's your ideal partner, essentially. We'll then look at assembly, which is the system and the structure that sits behind your partner program. We'll then look at nurturing, which is how you nurture the relationship with your partner to form really solid relationships. Connection, all about how you help your partners connect you to their audience. This is the activation bit where the magic really happens. Last but not least, we'll look at engagement, which is all about how you actually go out there and engage and find new partners. Okay, there is one golden rule throughout all of this though, people. Hands up here, who's not busy at the moment? Yeah, right, we're all busy people in general. Okay, a couple of hands. Okay, well, in general, we're busy people, and we live in a busy world, right? Which means that we become lazy in a way, and I don't mean lazy lying around on a sofa lazy. What I mean is, if there is something that we need to do that's outside of our core activities, if it's not easy to do, we put it on the I'll get round to it pile, even if we want to do it. And so when you're looking at getting other people to make introductions for you, particularly partners, you need to make it as easy as possible for them to do it, because then they're way more likely to do it for you. And this would be a theme that I would say would run throughout all those different 5 steps, is how can I make it easier for my partner? So with that in mind, let's crack on with discovery. So as I said, actually what I would say with all these 5 steps, there is a lot that goes within them. Right? When I work with clients, there's a 140-page framework. I'm just going to obviously skim it today, give you a flavor, and just pick up on the key aspects for each of these 5 steps, that if you're going to do anything, these are the most important ones. So discovery is all about who our ideal partners are. It's not saying that we don't work with any other type of partner. If you understand who a really ideal partner is, then you're going to attract more of them, and in turn you're going to get more inquiries through those partners. And this starts in a couple of ways. First of all, it's about being specific, and there's a couple of things to think about here. Really understanding who a partner is. So many people I speak to, they have all different sorts of partners, but they lump them into the same bracket. And I would really encourage you to be really intentional about who the different relationships you have are. Is this someone that I'm more likely to refer to, a service enhancement partner, or is this someone that's more likely to provide me leads, or is it somewhere else? Because being really clear about the value that a partner brings to you allows you to be much more specific in how you communicate with them and the support you provide them. But bearing in mind we're focusing on kind of lead gen partners here, the specificity comes around really understanding who your ideal client is. Small business owners is not specific. It's going, who do I really want to be working with? Because when you segment your audience into, these are my really ideal clients, the ones I enjoy working with, I have greater impact, profitable. When you're a bit more specific, you're able to be much more specific in the types of partner that you're looking for and to demonstrate the value. So once you've got that ideal client in mind, or at least the client that you want to focus on for your partner channel, there becomes a 3-step process, which I'm oversimplifying today, but a 3-step process for at least getting a short list of who your ideal partner might be. First thing is, do they have a match in audience? Now, this may seem obvious, but if you're really specific about the size of business, the sector of business, the stage of business they're at, the more specific you are. I speak to so many people that have lots of really enjoyable, exciting conversations with people about partnerships that don't go anywhere. Because when you really drill down to the audience, the match is a little bit different. So it might seem obvious, but who's got that matching audience? And I'd go as far to say as who's talking. You might have a partner, potential partner, who's talking to the same type of business. But if they're not talking to the right person within that business, well, then it's going to break down. If you want to speak to HR, but your partners are talking to IT, then there's a breakdown there. Yes, they might be able to make a cross referral, but it's not ideal. So is there a matching audience? The next thing is there alignment? And so this is the thing I was just talking about. Is the person that I'm speaking to at the partner, are they having congruent conversations? Is the person likely to be able to bring up what I do in a conversation? Is it going to happen? If you're selling stationery, then it probably isn't going to come up in conversation if your partner is talking to them about marketing, right? It's where is there alignment between the businesses? And the final A is authority. Is the person I'm speaking to, is their introduction going to carry enough weight that the person they're introducing to me is going to want that introduction, is going to see it as something valuable? And that's a very simple process, but I would encourage you all to have a bit of a brainstorm and have a think about where they come from, because from there is the next step, which is the most important one, which is my partner value proposition. So many people, when they're looking at making partner approaches, they talk about the value that they can deliver to a client, right? They'll go, oh, we should speak because I can do all this for your clients. Now, you may mean that from the most value first way and genuinely mean it in that you want to offer value to the clients. But when you speak in that client first language, it subconsciously says, I want to sell to your list. How can you let me get at your clients? Now, that obviously is the ultimate aim because you want to deliver value to the clients. But a true partnership is about taking that value delivered to the client and going, why is that important to the partner? Your ideal partners are people where you make them look really, really good. So typically, these partners will either overlap your service or they will be the thing that happens before you. And who's got a product or service where by referring you in, you enhance what they do. And so I'm going to give you a couple of examples of this. Let's say you were someone who did outsourced sales, either sales appointments or actual sales follow-up or outsourced salespeople. An ideal partner for you would be people who did inbound leads, right? Because the client working with the inbound lead person, they're not buying. The thing they really want isn't leads. The thing they want is closed sales, right? And so if you're a salesperson, partnering with someone who does inbound leads works, because then it means that the inbound leads are more likely to be converted, which means the client's going to be happy with the person who's providing the leads. They're going to supply more leads. They're at least going to keep them going. Maybe they'll put more budget into it. It's if you were let's go on a B2C example. If you were a decorator, a high-end decorator, then you'd want to partner with interior designers, because the interior designer's client isn't buying a design, they're buying a gorgeous home. Right, and so the interior designer would want to partner with a decorator because they know that the vision that they present is going to be turned into reality. Right, the customer's happy. It's the copywriter partnering with the web developer because actually someone isn't buying a well-coded website; they're buying a website that works. It's these types of relationships that will provide you leads on a consistent basis because the partner has a vested interest in introducing you, because what you do will make them either directly or indirectly look better. Is this a concept that we're all happy with, kind of, because it is the most fundamental part about really kind of making your partnerships kind of rock, to be honest with you? Are we all, any questions on this? Because if not, I will move on if we're all happy with the concept. Wonderful, awesome. So once we're really clear on who an ideal partner is, we then move on to the behind the scenes, the systems and the structure. And I use a festival shot here, not just because I love festivals and music, but it plays a nice analogy, keeping on the dance theme. Whatever your flavor, musical preferences, Imagine the greatest lineup, in the world that you could ever possibly imagine. It's a new festival, and you see it advertised, and the lineup is just immense. So you buy your ticket. You are super excited to go to this festival. But when you get there, it takes you 2 hours to get in because the ticketing system's a joke. You get in, and there's only one bar in the whole festival, and even then you've got to queue and get tokens first, and then the beer's rubbish. Then the first act comes on, but it's not what the first act was supposed to be. So the lineup's all out of sync because the right person's not coming on when they should do, and the sound system is awful. So despite the lineup being amazing, everything else is horrendous. Now, the next year, no matter how good that festival is, you're unlikely to go back because you've lost trust in that person's ability to deliver. And the same is true with your partner program. Getting the systems and the structure right isn't going to necessarily win you partners, but it will keep you partners, and it will keep you partners for life, which is the important piece. So it's absolutely vital in both building trust and then also setting yourself up to be able to scale without breaking you, basically, being able to deliver a consistent level of service. A couple of key things here from my experience that are the most vital ones. Tracking. Every single time your partner makes an introduction to you, or anyone in your network makes an introduction to you, they are not just giving you a lead, they are giving you a little bit of their reputation to look after. And that's all any of us have got. And so we need to treat that with the respect that it deserves. And so it's absolutely vital that when you get introductions into your business, you track them all the way through the prospect journey, all the way through the customer journey, so that if your partners want to know what's going on, you're able to tell them. Even if you don't know off the top of your head, you're able to tell them quickly and efficiently where someone is in that journey. I've had it before with the partners that I've worked with, where I was responsible for providing leads, and they weren't able to do it with some partners. And it said one of two things. Either A, they hadn't registered it and they were potentially not wanting to pay me commission if there was a commission arrangement in place, which means they were being a crook, or they just didn't know, which means they were incompetent. And crook and incompetent are not good looks for you when you're working in partnership. So setting up some kind of tracking, whether it's thousands of pounds a month fancy partnership software, whether it's an entry-level CRM, whether it's a spreadsheet, it's better to have a spreadsheet that you use in a fancy system that you don't. Make sure you really have a handle on where all the leads are in your business. And the other piece on this, I would say, is around lead handling. Like, make sure you're set up for the volume of inbound leads you're going to get. People get this wrong. When we were running our membership organization, just to give an example of this, we had a global brand, to be fair. We were running a campaign to get some free sales data. We were like, this is going to be a great campaign. Our members are going to love it. And we were using it out to non-members as well as a way to attract inquiries in. We told the brand in question how successful we knew it was going to be. We did the behind the scenes setup. So when the email went out, someone just had to click one button and then they would be promised a follow-up call from said organization. They said, yeah, 2 days. We'll promise a 2-day turnaround. Campaign was successful. We generated 470 inquiries in 2 days, which meant it took said brand 2 weeks to get back to people. So instead of having happy members and happy potential member inquiries, we were getting complaints, which is the exact opposite. Now, I would suggest that normally when you start a new relationship, they don't go quite as well as you would imagine, and they build up. But you do need to plan for the best. Don't necessarily expect the best, but you need to plan for the best. Like, if all goes to plan, how am I going to deal with these inquiries? Because you do not want to be over-promising and under-delivering. Very quick one on structure around reward and recognition. So referrals, customers, clients, very grey area around whether you pay commission or not, all around intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Don't have time to really go into that today. With strategic partnerships, I'm a big fan of making them commercial. It shouldn't be the main reason why someone wants to introduce you, I would say. That partner value proposition piece is much stronger. But what it does do is it elevates a friendly, oh yeah, we should partner with each other and provide each other some leads, it elevates it from that friendly kind of handshake to a much more professional relationship. It allows you to be much more formal in the activities that you then decide to set out. It protects it from any individuals leaving, and it just raises it up a notch. I'll share a link afterwards about a much longer piece I did just around on this, but I'm a big fan of percentages. I'm a big fan of paying a percentage of revenue. I'm a big fan of paying that for the lifetime value of a customer as well. It's much better to have 90% of something than 100% of nothing, right? And so I'm a big believer. Matt, I can see you nodding your head here. I know that you're on this as well. I'm a big believer in rewarding effort, right? So it's not everyone can accept commissions depending on what sector you're in, and some people may really not want to accept them. So I wouldn't push it on those people because you risk offending them. Really nice tactic you can do with those people is go, well, I'm still going to take, let's use the 10%. I'm still going to take that 10% and put it in a pot, but I tell you what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to do this thing. And so I work with a bunch of people who have good causes. So if someone doesn't want their 10% commission in cash, they'll put it into a pot that delivers, that does some good. And most of them will relate that to their business. I've just finished doing some work with an accountant, and they put it into a pot that gives financial education to women in kind of less developed communities and economies kind of thing, and that suits their mission and it sits in with their values and their purpose. So really, really congruent, but it still allows you to have this level of formality behind it. Cool. Any questions on the kind of the reward recognition piece? Are we all good? Okie dokie. Right. So we know who our ideal partners are. We've got the systems behind the scenes and the structure that we're confident we're going to be able to deliver a consistent level of service. It then comes down to nurturing, all around building the relationship. The danger of some of that systems and structure stuff is that people can over-automate, particularly in the SaaS world. You go, we need to talk to our partners. They can get live dashboards of everything that's going on in their world, and AI will do all this fancy stuff for me. At its core, a partnership is based on a human relationship, right? There's still relationships that need nurturing and developing, and it can be all too easy to forget that. Now, I'm not saying that that there isn't a place for automation and AI, right? Keeping your partners informed of what's going on with their leads, monthly reporting, all that stuff, absolutely can be semi-automated, can be templated, brilliant. But let's not forget that we want to be building deep, meaningful, trusted relationships with our partners. It makes them more enjoyable, it makes them more impactful, and it also allows us to unearth more opportunities. So there's a whole load of stuff on here, but there's 3 things that I see people not do typically that I want to touch on. The first one is an absolute biggie. How many of you had partnerships before where they seemed really exciting, and then over time they kind of just drifted away, and either there was a misalignment or they just fizzled out, right? In my experience, the number one reason for partnerships not working and often ending acrimoniously is that expectations haven't been set at the outset. I'm going to quickly do, it's really worth, before someone's a partner, sitting down and looking at both the long-term kind of expectations of where do we see this going. Because look at this little graph here. If you're 5% out at the start, right, then that's unless it's really documented, you wouldn't notice that. It seems like you're on the same page. But over time, that 5% gets a bigger and bigger gap. It's really important that you're aligned on where you're both going. And if your partner goes, oh, right, yeah, this is a short-term thing, because actually I see me bringing this service in-house in time, well, that's fine. It's not that you don't partner with them, but wouldn't you rather know that up front? But then it's really about setting the expectations of who's doing what and when, what activity are we actually going to undertake, and document that stuff so stuff actually happens. And a little bonus one on here is around starting small. Momentum's a really powerful thing. I've been a part of partnerships where we were so busy plotting world domination because it was so much synergy that we never got going. And then people got pulled in different directions, and then it never came back. And so what's the quickest, easiest thing you can do? It tests the waters. It sees whether the partner's really committed, and it also sees what you're like to work with. So is it a content share? But what's the thing that just gets some commitment going to getting this partnership going? So really important to set expectations. Really important to keep your partners informed. I said that thing around every time someone makes an introduction to you, they're trusting you with their reputation. Proactively let your partners know what's going on with their contacts. Your partner shouldn't be wondering what's going on with their reputation, because you should be keeping in the loop on a consistent basis. And dependent on the volume of leads, whether that's a monthly report or whether it's more personal, this stuff can be templated. And then the final thing, which is really about building relationships and being opportunistic, is have strategic reviews. Again, I speak to so many people that say, oh, right, we talk to our partners every day, all the time, so we know what's going on with them. But what happens in that day-to-day activity is completely different to taking a step back and going, right. And there's a couple of things. There's three things that I think are most powerful in a strategic review, and that's reviewing expectations. And if things aren't going as well as they could have been, if you've communicated those expectations up front, it makes it much easier to have what could have been a potentially difficult conversation. It's then about asking, what can we do better? Because if you want long-term relationships, you want the partnership to just be kind of smooth, right? You want it to be niggle-free. And there will be things potentially that's going on in your organization that are just a niggle for your partner. Not big enough that they're going to pick up the phone and complain, but they're a niggle. And by going, if you've got the right relationship, you do it in a relaxed enough way, maybe it's something that will come out in a conversation. But the biggest one is about being curious about what's going on in their world. We would all like to think that with our partners and our clients and our trusted network, that we're front of mind. They know what we do. And if there's an opportunity that comes up to refer us, for us to work with us, they're going to go, yes, Liam is the guy I need to speak to, right? But people don't, because they're busy. And so we need to ask, we need to keep on seeing what's going on in their world. I'm sure you've all had times where a client said, all right, yeah, we're just doing this with this person. And you go, oh, we do that, did you? And they go, oh, I didn't know that. And it's because people forget because they're busy. Curiosity is the birthplace of opportunity. And so by being genuinely curious in these meetings about what's going on in their world, you will unearth opportunity for yourselves and you'll unearth opportunity for others. And so that's what having those more strategic reviews outside of day-to-day communication help to deliver. Cool. All good so far? Nods. Brilliant. Okay. And everyone's still here. That's a good sign as well. Right. So we know who our ideal partners are. We've got the structure and the systems right. We've got the processes for communicating with them right. It's now time to actually make the magic happen. And that's the connection piece. This is what kind of ties it all together. And it's around how we help our partners connect them to us, to their audience. Because again, I'm sure we've all had relationships in the past that seem really exciting and we shake hands on it and then we wait for those leads to come in and they don't, right? And it's because it's up to us as the person that wants these inquiries to give our partners all the support that we can for them to be able to do this. And for me, that sits into two separate categories. One of them is partner facing. So this is all the stuff that's in your head, giving it to your partners so that they know when to recommend you, how to position you, what are the things to listen out for that show that it's an ideal time to introduce you. Now, this is especially important where you may be dealing with the owner of a business or the leader of a business. But if they're not the ones that are actually going to be implementing the partnership on a day-to-day basis, maybe their team aren't quite as switched on and opportunistic as the business leader or owner. So what support, what training are you providing the people that are actually going to be responsible for introducing you on a day-to-day basis? The more of this stuff that you can give them, and the more of this stuff, ideally you want to be building yourself into their own processes so that you're not waiting for them to be reactive, that there's this proactive thing where it becomes second nature for them to introduce you. And if you've got your partner value proposition bit right at the start, then they are going to want to introduce you as much as they can. And so the easier you make it for them to do this by giving them the skills and the training and by ingraining yourself within their own processes. Liam, using you as an example. In fact, no, I'm going to use Matt because I think you do this, don't you, with some of your partners. Matt partners with accountants, and I think there's a few questions that they build into this to an accountant's onboarding process. So if you're partnering with accountants, then is there a question they can ask when they bring new clients on or at review meetings that opens up an introduction to you, Liam, in insurance, for example? Like that's a question that an accountant could ask around insurance if someone has. And by building that, it may seem obvious for them to ask that question, but unless you point it out, they won't. Because it may seem like common sense to you because you do this stuff day in, day out, but it's not common sense, it's experience. And so it may seem like you're teaching people to suck eggs, but the way around that is just to position it nicely. We do this stuff with some of our other partners. We thought it might be useful for you, right? It's not you should do this because people don't like to be told what to do, but just positioning to people that you've got some support that they might find useful just softens the blow on that. So that's partner facing stuff, really powerful if you're going to be relying largely on personal introduction. But then there's the proactive kind of digital piece, the customer facing activity, all the reams of different marketing that you could do. And what I'd encourage you to do here is have a think about what you already do in your own marketing that works, so you know that stuff that you can offer to your partners. But ask them, what are they doing that works and how can you get involved? Because going back to that partner value proposition piece, again, it's why it's so important. If you've got that right, they will want to put you in front of their audience because they know that you're going to deliver value in a way that reflects positively back on them. Couple of key tips here though is make sure you write it in their language. So some of those brands you saw up on that first screen when I did the About Me piece, they had bigger regional marketing departments than my whole business, right? I'm sure their marketing director's salary was probably bigger than the revenue of my business, which was 6 figures, but still. And yet, every single time they sent us a bit of copy that we weren't even sending to our own list, we were sending on to the list of our clients, it would be written as though it came from them, as though they were sending it direct to their list, which means we'd have to go in and tweak the copy and then send it back to them for approval. And it was annoying. It was annoying as hell. And for the partners that weren't particularly special, it'd be a reason why we might look elsewhere. For the ones that were really successful, we just had to grin and bear it, but it was still annoying. And that's not what you want from your partners. If you want to make it easy for your partners, you want them to do what you want them to do, which is send your stuff out, make it as copy and pasteable as you possibly can. The second tip on this thing is become the marketing manager's best friend, or whoever's responsible for marketing, particularly if you're working within an organization where marketing isn't top of their list, because then what they've probably got is a very, very, very overworked marketing person. And you going and offering loads of content, you might think that it's cheeky because you're looking to push your message out. But again, if the value proposition's right, they'll want to do it. And you giving them a blog post or a social post or an article for their newsletter with all the posts that go with it is one less thing that they don't have to do that week. You become their best friend. And then they start coming on proactively asking you for content when there's an opportunity because you're the one that helps them out. So really, it's important to become that marketing person's best friend. And that's about providing them with high quality, high value content that's written in a way that they can easily disseminate. Okay, so we now know who we're partnering with. We're really happy with the overall package that we're providing them. It's time to go out there and get partners, which is all around engagement. Now, something I'm gonna ask here is, I can see the number going up on the chat, by the way. So if you've asked questions, and I will pick them up at the end. It's just I can't have them. Yeah, I can't do the whole chat and screen and everything else thing. So I will come back and pick, if there's questions, and I'll come back and pick them up. The engagement piece. I'm going to suggest to you that depending on where you are on your partner journey, your ideal partner, changes. If you're just starting out on your partner journey, the person that's a huge, great brand that potentially is going to provide you hundreds of leads is not the partner you're looking for. You might, if you're even able to get them, it's going to take you a long time to do so. They are not going to be very forgiving with if there's any nooks and crannies in your partnership program, and they could potentially break you. You might not be able to deliver the level of service. If you're just starting out, you want a smaller partner who's going to be more friendly, more forgiving, or someone you can work in a more collaborative way. And then as you build and as you scale, as you get social proof, that's when you look for these bigger and bigger partners. And in fact, you can even look for partners that can provide you access to more partners. So it's all about thinking about where am I now and who's an ideal partner for me. Keeping it easy on yourself. And then there's two things. Remember your partner value proposition. Lead with that. You should never, ever have to sell a partnership opportunity. You might need to lead the conversation, but if it feels like you're pitching a partnership opportunity, stop, because you are. And it shouldn't be a sales pitch. It should be a joint opportunity. Either your partner value proposition is wrong, or the other person just doesn't get it. And you know what? Not everyone will get it, right? But you shouldn't be selling partnership. It's an opportunity that's exciting for both parties. So remember your partner value proposition. And then the really, really simple way to get going with partners is to look at your network. For the vast majority of people here, you will have your first partners either directly in your network, and I'll come back to that in a second, or once removed. So if you've got partners that are directly in your network, a really nice tactic is to ask for help. Despite what the media would have us believe, you know what most people are? Good people. Most people are nice. And if you've got someone in your network who's within your chosen partner type, reaching out to them and going, hey, I'm just building out a partner program, and I've got to be honest, Rob, you're right in my chosen demographic. I really love your feedback. Most people are going to go, yeah, you're stroking their ego because you're showing that that you value their opinion, and most people are going to say yes. At the back end of that, what you're going to get is genuine feedback on whether you're positioning it right. Maybe the person will say, yes, why don't I be a partner? Or at the very least, they might be able to introduce you to more people like them. And that coming back to that introduction piece, look, I help people get more referrals from their clients and their audience, right? So there is an art to making it easier, but asking for an introduction to a partner is even easier than asking for an introduction to a potential client, because there's no sell involved. You're saying, can you introduce me to this person? Because there's this really great opportunity to offer joint value. And for most of us on this call, I would absolutely suggest you've got more than enough within your network to get going, build that social proof. And as we build social proof, we need less direct trust, because the trust comes from the experience that we have. And for most of us, that's more than enough to get going. So be really clear on who you're looking to partner with and what your partner value proposition is. Have the systems and structure that enables you to build trust and set up to scale. Remember, this is a relationship business, so nurture those relationships, offer value at every point, be curious and look for the extra opportunities. Give your partners all the support they need to both promote you themselves when they're ready, but also offer external value. And then, remember what you've got close to when you're looking to go out there and engage with partners. Do all those things and you'll be well on your way to a successful partner program. So that was 40 minutes. I said I'd just take literally 2 minutes. And so, look, this is what I do day to day. My day job is helping people actually implement this in their business. So depending on the size of your organization and where you're at, I obviously do one-to-one or one-to-team support, working in people's businesses to really work through this framework and the vast beast that it is, and then stay with people to help actually implement this stuff as it goes through their business. So if that sounds of interest, we'd love to speak to you. I also do an online group program, the Kick-Ass Collaboration Program, which I think a few of you know people who are on at the moment. It is the framework that you've just witnessed, delivered in a group coaching format online, done over 6 months, 2 live sessions a month. But the bulk of the content is done by month 4, so you're ready to launch. Although cohort 2, we've just done the assembly bit, but everyone's actually already having partner conversations because they got so excited. That's £400 a month for that 6-month period. This isn't even launched yet. Actually, it's launching today. If actually where you're at is you want to get better at getting more referrals from your clients and your contacts and your network, better referrals more often is for you. This is a referral framework delivered in the group format again. It's a half-day online workshop, one-to-one with me, 2 group kind of follow-up calls to make sure this stuff gets implemented this year. Then another one in January just to really make sure that you're kind of re-energizing this stuff happens. Digital support throughout via email and things. That's a one-off £460. This is the first time I'm doing this one, which is why it's only £460, because anyone who's on it, I will be looking for feedback and testimony and all that wonderful stuff. So that's me. I'm going to stop sharing and ask if there are any questions. Over to you guys. Yeah, any questions? I'll check out the chat now as well and make sure there were none in there. If there is something in the chat and you just want to sling your hand up though, feel free.
I got one for you, mate.
Yes.
So the biggest challenge I've got at the minute is I've gone from running my own firm where we were looking for those kind of 100 lead a month or 100 lead a week kind of partnerships to being back as a one-man band. You've suggested kind of already, right, well, don't go for the big stuff. But for me, how would you change your approach from going after a big fish to, let's be honest, a small fish?
Okay, so if you've got a really strong network with bigger brands, then by all means go for them. Right? And I'm not saying we shouldn't aim big. If you've got credibility and a trusted network and social proof that you can deliver to these people, then do so. But I would be prepared for it to be a longer conversation. So I wouldn't do it as your sole tactic. I'd equally be speaking with smaller organizations at the same time to just get things going. I don't think the approach necessarily changes all that much. Maybe you are slightly more informal, but it depends on you and your brand. I don't think it changes that much at all. Maybe the only thing that maybe would change is being a little bit more curious with them around where their current pain points are, right? Because we can, with the partner value proposition piece, it's the bit in the framework that never truly is completed. Because before you start talking to people, you can come up with it in your best idea of like, this is the value I think I bring. But then when you start talking to your partners, and the process I go through is you have like a bullet point list of all the different bits of value that you deliver and why that's important to the partner. And then ideally you have this lovely little 2-liner, right? But when you're actually having meetings with your partners and you're going through those individual kind of bits of value, it's amazing how many times something that you thought was a throwaway bit of extra value is the bit that they go, oh, that bit's a real problem for me. And that will change depending on the size of the organization. Right? Because different sizes of organizations have different pain points in their customer journey. And so the partner value proposition bit is the bit within the finer detail of the value proposition will change depending on the sizes of the organization. And so that's all I would be, is I would be aware of that and just explore kind of where the value really resonates.
Perfect.
Cool. Any more?
Dave, I'm sorry. I was ever so sorry, guys. I was late. I've got a quick question for you. I'm sure everyone's experienced something along the lines of you meet someone, say, I meet you, we got on very well, and there's an inferred promise that we will find each other leads. And yet somehow over the next 3 months, it just doesn't happen. What I find is that, you know, you start off with this sort of uptick in emotional engagement, and then it just goes off and disappears. Have you any thoughts about how you might keep, and if you've covered it, apologies, I'll watch the recording later. I'm sorry, guys. But have you got any thoughts about how to keep someone engaged that, you know, you might only find one referral, one piece of work in a year? How do you keep them engaged in what you're doing?
Okay, so yes and no. I kind of covered it, but equally didn't. So the setting expectation bit that I mentioned in the nurturing piece is vital in this, so that everyone's aware of where the leads, how quickly they may come. Is there anyone ready right now, or when do you think? So if all parties are aware of when that first lead is likely to drop, that helps. A really good onboarding, which we didn't cover, but that I think we said in the preamble chat, didn't we? You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Having a really good onboarding process, I think, certainly helps keep that momentum going. And then it's just checking in. Is what can you do that offers value to the partner? That's where I think having processes is so important. It's staying in touch, genuinely caring about. First and foremost, you've got to genuinely care about the relationship, right? Like, be genuinely interested in the other person, and then we could, if we're genuinely interested in the other person, we can find ways of staying in touch. I think a mixture of, oh, I saw this event that you might like, or the more personal stuff, or adding value. But I think it's really important to understand at the outset what volume of leads and when those leads are likely to drop in, because then at least everyone's aware, I think.
It may not just be the only reason why you're having the engagement. You know, referrals could be one of the they could be about learning. So I get that. I'm specifically aiming for the conversation about referrals, because that's where the most value, I think anyway, for me, has come from having a network, an extensive network.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to something I did say earlier on as well, around understanding your partner types, which I think you touched on them, because so often, I haven't spoken about cross referral today, but I'm going to. I'm not a fan of cross referral relationships, and let me clarify that. We should all refer everyone as much as we possibly can, right? It makes the world go round. But thinking back to the partner value proposition, the ideal person to refer you comes before you in whatever journey the customer's on to get their ultimate outcome of whenever they started. Your ideal person to refer you comes before you or overlaps you in that kind of customer journey, which means you're probably not the ideal person to refer back down the chain, because that conversation's already happened. And so relationships that are based on will refer each other equally, it might not all the time, because there are instances where it does work, but in my experience, don't end well, because one party ends up being able to refer the other party much, much more frequently. So if you're going to have relationships like that, in my experience, the best way is to set them up separately, so that both people really understand the value in why it's being referred. So if you're the person that's not getting as many referrals, that's fine, because you really understand the value that the other person's bringing in. It's not just about the lead, it's about them enhancing your service. And so I think it's that clarification of where someone sits in your ecosystem, I think is an important distinction to make as well.
I was just going to touch on that, mate. You've basically answered what I was going to say. I keep getting invited to, again, because I'm starting off on my own, I keep getting invited to loads of local networking groups, and I think every one of them so far has pretty much said, bring a lead and get one back effectively. I'm like, well, that's not really how it works, is it? I mean, that's not what I'm looking to do. And the people that I'm generally dealing with usually come to me because they've already taken a mortgage or had a child. So there's like, well, I can't then send you back a client for a mortgage because they've already done that. So I just see that it seems to be quite a common thing that, like, a lot of these, I'm not going to say rip-offs of BNI, but the BNI without the charges, shall we say, where these local networking things, everything seems to be give and receive. Like, I think they call it Indian giving, don't they? You only give if you get back. Seems to be loads of that.
Yeah, and I think, and you're completely right, and I think the law of reciprocity doesn't work like that, in my experience. I've got people that I give loads of referrals to, right, and I don't get many back from them. But I've also got people that I get loads of referrals from, Our friend Paul, for example, has provided me way more leads than I provided him, but that's because it's easier for him to refer me than it is me him, particularly when he's in his old role. But he's cool with that because he knows that in general I do a lot of stuff and it's just the way it works. So I think yeah, like givers gains a bit, I think, and I do believe in that, but we shouldn't give to receive, right? Yeah, so completely agree.
Not sure about that. Not sure about that. I mean, what we do is slightly different, and maybe everyone here, their main core business is not referral business, whereas our business is. So therefore, it's slightly different. Dave?
Yes, and you know what? I would agree with that. Your model is, yeah, your model is absolutely hinged on a whole referral chain, like my old business was. But I think if you're talking about our general networks,
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, but yes, I understand. There are nuances always, of course. You're an exception that proves the rule, kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anyone else with anything? No. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving up your time. I really hope that you found that valuable. If anyone wants to book a call with me around kind of how I offer support, then please do. There's a link in the chat. As I said, tomorrow you'll get a link through that will be access to a page that has the recording, the slides, a bit more info, book a call, all that wonderful stuff. And the last thing I would say before we go is I do these regularly. So if you know of anyone that's looking to get a little bit more information around, a little bit more knowledge around referrals or partnerships, they're looking to grow their business, then if you could point them in my direction so that they can come and take part in one of these, then it would be greatly appreciated. Just get them to connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can drop us a joint email. And equally, speaking is a big thing for me. So if you know of communities that have the right audience and are looking for good guest speakers, then again, I would love an introduction by email. That's how easy it is to ask for referrals. Look, everyone should do it more often. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will speak to you, hopefully, speak to some of you very soon.
Thanks very
Cheers,
much.
Dave.